All right, guys, my name is Dr. Sharnael Wolverton Sehan. I am very, very excited and think it's kind of funny that we're matching, but very excited about this guest. Katie Bishop is here with us today. And, she has been a treat and just a fun, very warm hearted woman that I just met here recently, October last year. We were doing, Laura Eisenhower and myself did a retreat in Destin, Florida, which we're doing again this year in October, if anyone's interested in joining us. And Katie and Laura are friends, and Laura, reached out to Katie, and Katie was interested in coming to meet up with us. And so I got a little time with her there, and I got to know a little bit about her heart and some of her work. And, we just started chatting away. And yeah, I just was really excited to have her on the show and to share her gifting and, her heart and kind of where she sees things, her perspective about where we are on the planet right now, and kind of dive into those avenues. Before we get started, I just have a little bit of things to share. I'm encouraging you guys to please do all the things algorithm that help us get this out. If you could share, like, comment, ask questions. Feel free to ask questions in the chat so we can answer anything. But also, I'm curious where you live, what city, what country. We're always doing analytics. We're always trying to see who we're talking to. And also, if you have any people that you're interested in me interviewing and or topics that you're interested in hearing about, please put that in the comments as well, because we do look at all those things and we do try to read your feedback, and we want to give you the best quality show and some ways that you can be informed, things that get you excited and things that are fun for you. So without knowing all those things, we can't serve you in that way. So if you can give us those things, that would be really great. But without further ado, Katie, thank you for being with us today and welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sharnael. It's so great to be here. I love that retreat. So just if anyone hasn't done that, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I'm curious, what was your highlight of the retreat?
The highlight was in the evenings when you and Laura would share your stories, and you were so down to earth, and you were so vulnerable, and you were so relatable and humble. And the information you shared was so useful. It wasn't just, you grounded it into practicality for all of us. And it was so directly from the heart. So I think it was your authenticity as well as Laura's that made the energy so special.
Oh, well, I hope that you can come back again, and anybody who's watching, I know you have a lot of international trips coming up here in the fall, so we may not make it, but we want to make this like a yearly, and we're talking about doing some others in different locations as well. So we'll see you somewhere. And so back to you, I want to know what in the world, like, how did you get in this space at all? Like, because you've been doing this for a minute. It's not just something that you just started.
Right, right. The story itself is pretty interesting. So, I grew up Catholic. I grew up Catholic in the Midwest and ended up in Atlanta. And in 2011, I started doing some healing for myself, some trauma therapy. And that therapy led to a dark night of the soul, really intense dark night of the soul. And as I was starting to come out of that, I experienced a spiritual awakening, and I experienced a angelic being coming to me and opening up my chakras, my heart chakra, my pineal, everything. And what really was happening in that moment was a walk-in experience. So I like to say it was a spiritual awakening, but just because that's easier for people to understand. But for those who don't understand, walk-ins that's when there's a soul transference with the body. So I walked in 2011. The best way for me to describe what that feels like is like the Wizard of Oz, like when Dorothy's in black and white, and then all of a sudden she steps into full color. And
Wow.
all of a sudden everything was completely different. And the nice thing about walking in, at least in my experience, is that the veil is very thin and you come in knowing, everything you need to do. You come in knowing your mission, and you're not tainted with the conditioning or the programming that everyone has as they grow up. So I got to hit the ground running. And I like to say I kind of came in with a briefcase, because I came in knowing, all right, this is what I'm here to do. These are the tools I have. These are my skills. We all bring different gifts to the table. So I knew what I was, my little section. And I got started, and I was so naive. I got taken out. I became a targeted individual. I was MyLabbed. I had a horrific divorce, to the point that by 2013, I was living out of my car in a motel and had to rebuild my career, starting as a data analyst, making $12 an hour. So that's where I started my journey. And I went through hell. And now that I'm on the other side of it, I'm so glad I had that journey, and I see the purpose in it, because I can so empathize with what people are dealing with and what they're going through. And I knew the whole time, okay, my mission is to pull myself out of this so I can turn around and pull everyone else through, who's ever ready, spiritually awaken, get out of the matrix, find your passion, and get in alignment with your soul. So it took me about 10 years to finally really get stabilized to the point where I could start practicing. And during that time, I also got certified. I did some foundational training. I got certified in energy healing and shamanic wisdom and practices. I went to alchemy school in Italy. I got trained in entity attachment release. So I got all these foundational skills in this realm, not just the things I walked in with. So I got started with Earth Bishop, and that's the name of my healing practice. I named it that because Bishop is my last name. It means guardian. And
oh, I love that.
Yeah, so part of my mission.
Oh my God.
So I want everyone to be an Earth Bishop. I want everyone to be a guardian of the planet and of humanity.
Oh my God, I'm getting emotional. This is awesome. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. And Earth, part of the mission here is to reignite and reconnect our symbiotic relationship with our mother planet, with Earth and the elements. And so I use all of the elements in my practice, in sessions. And so that's really how I got to where I am today in a nutshell. Of course, I'm, cutting out a lot of things, but that's where I am today. With the practice.
I love that. I love that. Oh my gosh. I did not know all of this about your story. I mean, living in a car, and how long were you living in your car?
A couple months. In a motel too. I did have a credit card, so I used that to be in a motel. It was pretty humbling. I'm also a mother, and at that time, I told my children that I was the lifeguard at the motel pool, because they were really young. It was really bad.
How old were your kids?
They were young. They were 5 and 3.
So they were in the car with you?
They were not. When I went through all of this, when I say I lost everything, I was trying to get my practice started, and not only was I being targeted and having MyLab issues, my family thought I was mentally ill, and I lost all my friends as well, because everything I was talking about is very common nowadays. Everyone's talking about ascension.
Right.
But in 2011, there was nothing. No one was really out there. It wasn't mainstream. So I had no support.
Wow. Wow.
But again, that was part of the journey. It was to drop to the bottom and come up and have that experience, in this body, in this lifetime, to use it to help us.
You mentioned the word pull, and just yesterday, you said pulling people out, and I had heard pull like 3 times. This is the 4th time now in the last 2 days. I heard pull, not push. And then this morning I heard something about pull. I mean, I was just like, what? There's something really to this. And then, of course, so what does that mean to you to pull people out? Because
Yeah.
you related. Like, explain that as a guardian.
So it means a couple things. First of all, it means pulling them out of the matrix structure, the false 3D matrix structure. Most people are trapped in a job they hate, relationships that are unfulfilling, feeling tired, sluggish, not healthy, being products of the false matrix programming, you know? So when I consider pulling out is reigniting that spark of divinity within everyone. So everyone can remember their soul, remember who they are. And then it's about connecting with the mission of the soul. What does this person really love? What is their passion? What are their gifts? Everyone comes in with gifts. Everyone comes in with things that make their heart sing. And so I help people find those things and then transition from a miserable job, from a 9 to 5, or whatever it is, out of a horrible relationship. We transition into the life that they want. And then I also I teach as well. This is a really just as important part of what I'm doing here. I teach sacred mysteries. I teach the laws of the universe and how to use them to create the life that you want and how to transcend them. So as we're pulling out of the matrix, we're using the laws of the universe. So I have a class on my website and I go through all of them. It's really important to understand, we're in a construct. So it's to understand how the construct works helps you break through it and then ultimately transcend it, because we don't come from this construct. We come from a realm of absolute truth, connected with God, source, creator, divinity, purity. But in this realm, we're having all these soul experiences. So I teach people how to use these laws to navigate this system to make it work for you. Like, how can we take advantage of it? And this is something the dark occult are masters at. And a lot of these laws they've kept occulted, meaning hidden, because they use them against the light and they like to keep everyone ignorant from them so that we don't really know how to harness our own power. So that's, I mean, that's kind of in a nutshell how I pull people out. I also help clear their field, get them understanding the energy field and the different layers of the body that we have in our auric field and how to keep it clean and how to keep it protected and revitalized, because as you know, all illnesses and disease start in the energy field. Starts in the energy field, gets stagnant energy, heavier, heavier, and heavier, and then materializes in the body. So education about energetic hygiene is something I do as well.
Well, I know that when we talked and just even in our back and forth email, the word alchemy comes up a lot. For those who are watching and they're like, what is alchemy? Because I guess when I think of alchemy, I have my own version, how that works energetically. But some people might look at it like, oh, like we had to turn gold into silver, or, like, isn't that metals, or, like, so explain energetic alchemy and how you use alchemy in your systems and with helping people.
Sure. And there is a science to metal alchemy, turning lead into gold. And that actually works as a great metaphor for the kind of alchemy that I work with, which is the alchemy of the soul. So the alchemy that I work with is really all about the transformational process of the soul through the human experience. And what this is a distillation process, a purification process.
I love
We
that.
come in pure as divine source. Our soul is complete pure truth. But we pick up all these experiences and traumas and conditioning and programming and false belief systems. And alchemy of the soul is about releasing all of those, distilling all of those, purifying them, seeing them for what they are, and not being ashamed or angry, but saying thank you for that learning experience, because I learned who I am by experiencing what I'm not.
Wow.
And so that it's all about that transmutation um, of the energy. So again, a lot of people, when they come to me, their energy is really low. They have health issues. There's a lot of depression, anxiety, and there's an energetic transformation process, a transmutation through the soul alchemy that happens along the journey. And that is the real alchemy. And you can think of it as turning, the heart being broken and putting walls up and putting lead around it. And then as we heal, the lead falls away and you see the gold of the heart. The heart is gold. It's pure. It's your treasure. So that is how I use alchemy for healing.
I love that so much. Well, one last question, and then I know your time is valuable. What is an entity attachment? I know that came up in our conversation, and again, I know my version, because just using biofeedback, we can see entities and we can see different ways that they attach. And I think we talked about that at the retreat a little bit. But for those who are watching, help explain that and help explain how these attachments can affect the field and or the body and or the mission.
Yeah, absolutely. This is so important, especially right now, because as a collective, we're entering into the lower fourth D plane, and on the lower astral plane is where all of the disembodied spirits are. This is where all the entities are, and by entities, I mean disembodied spirits, energies that hold consciousness but don't have their own physicality. They're you can't see them with your eyes, but they exist, and they are parasitic. So the only way for them to really stay in their realm is to attach to someone who is connected directly to source, which is us, because we pull directly from source. So entities fall in different categories. Some of them are demonic. These demonics are literally designed to bring humanity down, to hate humanity, to be the opposition. Then there's disincarnate spirits and earthbound spirits. These are kind of like ghosts. These are when someone dies and they shed the body and their soul doesn't make it through to their next stage of evolution, and they're stuck on the astral plane, they become disillusioned because they're in a different dimension, and they get stuck and they'll attach to people. So you can have like a ghost-like entity attached to you, sucking your energy. Now, these things, it's really interesting because a lot of the demonics attach to different chakras. So demonics that are designed to, all addictions are related to this. So demonics that instigate addictions with like food or sex or drugs, those are going to be in the lower chakras. Then there's more highly evolved demonics, which are going to be attached to pride. They're going to be attached to greed, to anger, to jealousy, all of those types of higher chakra manifestations, I guess. So that's what entities are, and that's how they work. Now, there are also things in the lower 4D plane like egregores. I know that sounds weird, but they do exist. They're thought forms that have enough consciousness to control and be parasitic to humanity. So those also exist in this plane, and sometimes people with a lot of trauma create their own egregores.
Wow.
Because it's almost like a friend. that they've created to help get them through years and years of trauma. So,
Wow. Yeah. I know with biofeedback, one of the charts we can actually see and diagnose or detect is in entities. And what I've seen, and I don't know if you've seen this because you mentioned addictions, when when those numbers are really, really high, what I've found just through questioning is a lot of people are in like some sort of addiction with, or those go hand in hand somehow, meaning if they drink a lot or do drugs of any kind or whatever, there's a bigger opportunity for entities. And my theory is that we lower ourselves to a lower frequency by using or abusing those type of ways to kind of maybe dull the pain or get out or numb things. But it changes the field as well, because our numbing here sends out that radiation of numb and or lower vibe, and then they have like a key to get into the field because they're all low. You mentioned how low they are, and when we bring ourselves low, then they have that accents, basically free license to attach. Do you see that with what
oh,
you?
absolutely. Everything you just said is absolutely correct. We can live above them. We can always live above them because they're limited, right? Their frequency is limited as to where they can go. When we lower our frequency with alcohol or drugs or abusing substances, not only are we lowering our frequency, but we're giving consent. This is considered
Oh,
an energetic consent.
wow.
Alcohol is it stands for actually a flesh-eating spirit. So you are drinking, you are saying, I'm consciously drinking in a flesh-eating spirit. And
Wow.
that is an energetic contract. And so these entities, and especially the demonic, say, well, I'm legally allowed to be here, and they will attach and they will make it really, really difficult to come back up. Now, for people out there that are struggling with this, I have a free download and video on my homepage, and I walk you through all the steps on how to get rid of these kinds of entities, because everyone needs to know how to do this. Everyone has the right and the ability to get rid of them themselves. So this is something where I really think we need to take the stigma out of as a society, because it affects all of us.
Yeah.
So if
In the last few years, I think there's been such an increase of, pain in general, trauma, division. And so people are looking for these outside ways to cope with all of the emotions and the feelings and the things that they're being put in this position to uh, remember. And there are opportunities, and people make good choices, and then people don't always make the best choices. And it's not right or wrong, it's just what people are doing. And then I would say the opposite is true too, and I think you would agree to me, because you had mentioned you have this higher being experience and all this stuff, and you mentioned limits with that. um, these guys that are in the higher realms, like, they have limits too, and they have to like force themselves to come down to our level if we can't meet them up there. So raising frequency is just as important, wouldn't you say?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. Yeah, that's critical. I mean, we all have to do that. We have to go through this process of getting our frequency up. Slowly. It has to happen gradually. So it has to be something we're consciously working on every single day, and that all comes from living authentically. If you
Mm.
just focus on living authentically, you're going to be at the highest frequency. Authenticity has a higher frequency than love, because you can't have love without authenticity. Then it's not true.
Yeah,
So if everyone can just focus on that, you're going to raise your frequency. We're going through 4D and then 5D. So it's all about your vibration and your energy, um, and your being true to yourself.
absolutely.
Um,
And we talked a lot about that on the retreat, for sure. That was like the main discussion of authenticity and living your true heart's desire. So Anyway, I'm thrilled. We could go forever, and definitely gonna have to have you back, or maybe a part of some online summit, or do something in person, or I don't know. I just love your heart, and I hope that we can collab in the future, and maybe Craig and I can have you back too for another time. But tell everybody where we can find you, where they can connect with you. I know you mentioned free the free course that you're offering so people can clear on their own, but you have other services as well. And, please tell everybody where they can find all of that.
Sure, sure. So everything's on my website. It's earthbishop.com. Really easy to remember. I do Akashic record readings. I do entity attachment release. I do Auric field clearing. I have all different types of healing modalities because healing happens in layers. So I do a lot of talk therapy. I do a lot of trauma therapy. If you're not sure what you need, there's a strategy session you can sign up for. So we'll strategize putting like a healing plan together. And then my courses are on there too. The Mastering the Laws of the Universe is on there, which I think everyone needs to understand. It's foundational. So yeah, everything's on there. The free information, the free downloads. Just go to earthbishop.com.
Awesome. Well, I really, really appreciate your heart and your authenticity as well. And I hope to see you guys around somewhere. And you guys make sure to connect with this beautiful being of radiance over here. She's got a lot to offer, and she is truly the real deal. Like, I meet a lot of people. I'm out and about. I run in these expos and speaking engagements, and at this retreat. And, sometimes it's a little bit just off. And with her, it was just this instant, like, calmness, peacefulness, authenticity, integrity. She just seems to really have like a level head, and sometimes people are so up there that you can't hardly really, they're just all over the place, and or not really grounded, and or don't know how to communicate the things that they're experiencing. And Katie, in my experience, is a great communicator, and she brings it down where everyone can understand. And just, it really helps when you're working with someone, when they get you, and I feel like she has been through all of these different things to really, really understand where people are coming from. And that's a big, big deal. So I appreciate you so much. And, all right. Love you guys. We are going to be here every Thursday at noon, and you can find me at at drsharnael.com. And I'm on all the social media stuff. There's great resources on our website. I just uploaded a free course actually too. It's one of my newer courses. So if you go there, you should be able to get access to that. And we will see you guys next time. Thank you so much for everything.
Thanks, Sharnael.